Here are some hot takes on the luxury watch world. Essentially, this is just going to be a cluster of like mini rants. I'd like to retract all of my positivity. That's absolute bullshit. So tired. I used to do rants. I guess this is it. This is coming back with some rants. And we're going to start off with a section, I guess, of you're not a true watch enthusiast if you're not a true watch enthusiast. If you think Tudor is a poor man's Rolex, this concept is legitimately stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. Yes, of course, there are some similarities between Tudor and Rolex. They are, of course, the sister company to Rolex, but there's similarities between Rolex and Omega. And you wouldn't say Omega is a poor man's Rolex. If you're thinking about family, then let's look at the Omega family, the Swatch family. You wouldn't say Longines is a poor man's Omega. You wouldn't say Omega is a poor man's Blancpain. The concept is just silly. Sticking to price, you're not a true watch enthusiast if you think the price of a watch is a feature of that watch. The price of a watch is simply just the price of a watch. There is no correlation between quality and price. A perfect example of this is this £200,000 Tag Heuer. It has lab-grown diamonds on it, it's made of white gold, and it's powered with an ETA 2892. A similar movement that you can find in this Zin that costs £1,000. Two perfect examples of each end of the spectrum. You're not a true watch enthusiast if you wear your watch as a status symbol. No, God! Well, your watch says absolutely nothing about you other than you like this watch. You might not like the watch, you might just be wearing. A perfect opposite example of this is Ed Sheeran. Audemars Piguet made this royal oak, this ceramic royal oak for Ed Sheeran. He will equally casually wear a Blancpain Swatch Scuba 50 Fathoms. That guy has an absolutely ridiculous watch collection. He wears whatever he likes. Things in the watch industry that I think need to change, starting off with ceramic bezels. I think ceramic bezels need to stop. They are fragile. It makes zero sense having a very fragile material around the part of a watch which is going to get hit the most. It's the equivalent of Apple putting glass on the back of an iPhone. It makes absolutely no sense making a product that is going to be dropped made out of a fragile material that is going to crack. The only reason Apple still has a glass back on an iPhone is so that they can make money. And I wonder if the watch industry is the same. I feel like Omega are one of the big brands leading the way. They are going back to, or at least adding aluminium bezels back onto some of their watches. And I feel like Rolex should be taking a leaf out of their book on this one. Another trend, another obsession that needs to change is the obsession around things being manufactured in-house. I feel like this doesn't make sense, especially when we want value for money. If you want a lot of watch for the money, then it doesn't make sense for brands to be pushing this idea around in-house. And we can't just blame the brands around this. We are at fault of this as well. We celebrate in-house and we call out when things aren't in-house. And it forces brands to do one of two things. Either they don't have the cash to do in-house, and so they lie about it, or they're deceiving about it. They say something's in-house or it makes it look like it's in-house when it's not, or they do in-house and they don't have the cash to properly test things and they end up being faulty. Either way, it's a bad outcome for us as the consumers. We end up spending more money unnecessarily for things because it's in-house, or we get a worse product. There are some watches out there using off-the-shelf movements, but they're customized to the point where they can be called in-house, or they're part of a group that then allows it to be called in-house, but they customize it to the point where only that brand can then service that product. That then makes it more expensive for us, again, a bad outcome for the consumer. I don't care who makes the product, just don't lie about it. I just want a good-looking watch that's well-made and has a good movement inside. Don't really care who's doing that. Oh, another load of bollocks. Swissmade, the obsession around Swissmade has to stop as well. It's nothing more than marketing. And the vast majority of Swissmade products are actually made in the Far East, just assembled in Switzerland. Again, coming back to the in-house thing, there's nothing wrong with where a product is made. There's nothing biologically better about Swiss people that mean that they have the ability to make a better watch than someone else. That side makes absolutely no sense. The only thing that I guess from a consumer point of view and a marketing point of view, it's all marketing, it's all bollocks. The only thing is that Switzerland have created these stamps of approval. If you think of the Geneva Seal or COSC, these are Swiss inventions to make it look like that products made in Switzerland are better than products made elsewhere in the world. You can only have the Geneva seal, this stamp of excellence, if your watch is made in Switzerland. Your movement can only be COSC certified if the movement is made in Switzerland. This makes absolutely no sense. You can have a Grand Seiko, a high-performing, very accurate Grand Seiko movement, the high beat movement, which performs well within COSC parameters, but will never be COSC certified because it's made in Japan. Not in Switzerland, it makes no sense. We need to now have a new global label to show that something is genuinely good. The idea that something can only be good if it's Swiss made is stupid. Every time I do a video about a new watch, there's always comments around the price, and I often have this kind of blanket, oh, everything's expensive, and people criticize that. Everything is just expensive. The Seamaster is now a £6,000 watch. The Speedmaster is a £6,600 watch. The Submariner is now a £9,000 watch, and the Daytona is now a £13,000 watch. Everything is just expensive now. It's frustrating because I see these watches as pretty much worth half. The Submariner in my head is like a £4,000 or £5,000 watch. The Speedmaster in my head is kind of like a £3,500 watch. I guess the frustrating part is that these watches are much more expensive now than they used to be, yet the product itself isn't necessarily that much better. So we're paying more for a product that has very little improvement. This is a tricky one to explain. Waitlists don't exist. They're not a thing. It's not a wait list. It's a list of value. How valuable are you to the AD? If you have zero or little spend history, you're not valuable. You're right down the bottom, and you'll continuously be put further down the list. Because as soon as someone comes in who's interested in a watch that you have, and they're worth more to the AD than you are, then they get put up higher on the list than you are. So there is a list, but it's not the list that people talk about. Your ability to get a waitlisted watch is all down to your ability to build a relationship with the AD and maintain that relationship with the AD. A trend that I don't like, and this could be just because I'm boring and I like normal things, but I don't like gimmicky watches like that. James Bond, Top Gun, Marvel, I don't like those kind of gimmicks. And I guess there are some exceptions to the rules. I do like the Snoopy Speedmaster. I do like the Oris Miss Piggy and the Kermit. Those collaborations are quite subtle and it allows them to do something a little bit different. So I guess it's down to the execution. But as a blanket rule, I'm not a fan of any kind of gimmick like that. I just want a good looking watch. I guess there's a very fine line between fun and cringe. I'm very happy for me just to be labeled boring on that one. I accept that. Seiko is no longer the value proposition that it once was. We used to be able to just say to anyone who wanted a watch, just get a Seiko, because you can't beat value for money when it comes to Seiko, and that ship sailed a long time ago. Ever since Seiko discontinued the SKX dive watch, I feel like that was their big marker, the big change of we're just gonna hike the price and not really do anything to give value. As an example of this, back in 2016, I bought this Seiko 5, this SNX S79, I think it was. I bought this for about 60 quid. That exact same watch now is 160 quid. If Rolex went by Seiko's price increase, the retail price for a Submariner would be £20,000. Exactly the same watch. 60 quid, 160 quid. There's so many micro brands out there who are doing watches cheaper and better than Seiko. And so Seiko are no longer the value proposition, which is a shame, because it's Seiko. This is one that'll divide the room. Sports watches. They look infinitely better on a one-piece nylon strap than 99% of the bracelet and straps that the watches are sold on. It just improves any sports watch. I've said it. You can get your one-piece nylon straps over at barkandjack.com. Had to slip that in there. So let's have a little look at complications. The chronograph is one of the most useless complications, probably the least used complication, one of the least used complications. Dive bezels are going to be used more than a chronograph. And I find it frustrating when you have this useless complication that makes a watch outrageously thick. I kind of feel like you're just purposely making the watch worse. However, the tourbillon is the most useless complication. It's literally redundant within a watch. It's basically a complication used for design that, again, just makes your watch more fragile and thicker and cost a whole lot more. The tourbillon was invented for pocket watches because pocket watches typically just sit within a pocket and then they spend a long time in one orientation. Therefore, gravity is pulling down on the escapement, stopping the escapement from being as accurate as it possibly could. The tourbillon then twists the escapement round, averaging out the pull of gravity. Wristwatches are on your wrist and your wrist is moving throughout the day. Your wrist is the tourbillon. So the idea of spending a lot of money on a complication that you naturally have just seems silly.
Remember, I love a tourbillon because it is a bunch of technology to be a wall clock.
I'll leave you with this one. A 15-pound Casio F91W is more iconic than 99.9% of luxury watches. That's a funny one, isn't it? Guys, let me know your thoughts on these thoughts. Let me know your hot takes within the watch world. What have I missed? Or what have I got wrong? That's just opinions. We can't get them wrong. Guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you like this stylist video, then hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon to get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out watch straps and watch accessories, jump over to barkandjack.com. And if you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care.